Today we'll be discussing 8 conditions ranging from spending decisions in boom and bust periods, to overspending and underspending, to impacts of variable spending and other spending irregularities on corporate time to market, programs, output, productivity, investor performance, patents, and overall corporate performance. Each of these 8 conditions impacts ROI and rates of return in some way. And there are some findings about what to do to make the best of the situation. What's notable about these 8 conditions is that managers and companies cannot really prevent or preempt them. They have to react and deal with them. In some cases, you can see them coming. Others just kind of fall out of the sky and are largely blind. These conditions impact decisions that affect R&D spending and ultimately corporate business and financial results. We'll start by looking at the spending patterns of the largest spending countries in the world. Quickly move that discussion from a country level to an industry level, then look at the collective impacts over the past 20 years of many of the 8 conditions on R&D spending and results. These are all very real things. Only recently are we beginning to understand what they mean when they happen. You may have noticed the why theme in the table of contents. There may have been a bit of wordsmithing on our part, but thinking of conditions ending in Y may be useful because there's more than a handful of them when you're in a conversation with colleagues. Take procyclicality, for example. It's not a word that many use in business. It means that R&D spending follows economic trends. The old adage of invest more in R&D in a downturn to come out strong when the economy returns is simply talk, as it turns out. So we will cover procyclicality, intensity, variability, emergency, discontinuity, anticipatory, a category I've called divvy, and sociological impacts with R&D spending. We'll conclude the program with 2 lessons of history and a finding in 2004 in Business Week that should not be forgotten until the time arrives that we know a great deal more about R&D spending and its tie to results than remains the case today. The goal of this program is to better enable participants to lessen the effects when stuff happens, mitigate the effects of stuff when you can see it coming, or in some way you're directed to make stuff happen associated with one of these conditions. There are emerging islands of knowledge in the management science of R&D spending. You're standing on the top of Bear Mountain, one of the highest heights of land along the Appalachian Trail in the northwest corner of Maine, close to the New Hampshire and Canadian borders. You are looking at the giant Mooselook-Maguntic Lake. Yes, you heard that correctly, Mooselook-Maguntic. At 17 letters, it's tied for the 3rd longest place name in the United States. That's not the only thing big about this lake. It's 26 square miles and has a perimeter of 58 miles. When the wind comes whistling out of the mountains unexpectedly and you're on the water, you'd better take your bearings immediately. Sometimes you can hear the wind coming miles away, anticipating its arrival. Always paying attention to the environment gives you a better chance of making good decisions, just the same as in business. Do you see in the center of the photo where the lake takes a sharp turn up to the right? If your chosen fishing location is at that corner, a great fishing spot is every fish in the lake has to go around that corner, you can experience 4 to 5 foot waves in just minutes. You can't always outrun them, fast and furious. They slow your boat down heading into the weather. Or they break into the back of your boat if you try and outrun the weather. Either way, you're immediately in an urgent situation. It's not only the initial burst of weather you have to watch out for. There can be secondary effects. Turns out 3 rivers flow into this lake: the Cupsuptic, Kennebago, and Rangeley rivers. Just when you think you're home free from the initial burst of weather, the water running fast off the tall mountains supercharges the flow into the 3 rivers, often in the direction you're heading as the lake current changes. You can spend a lot of money in gas trying to make headway to catch up for prior slow or naive decision making. Can you gauge the speed and momentum of rough weather when it arrives in your company, or is all of a sudden upon you? Are you ready for the secondary effects? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Do you always wish you had more information when the conditions arise? Yes, you do. We'll hope to provide some today. Most GGI presentations include a good amount of secondary research, where we research the primary research and publications of other experts. For all quotes and citations in our program today, you'll find a proper bibliographic reference directly below the blue line at the bottom of each page that contains quoted or cited materials. I wish that you enjoy our program, and even more, that you put it to use. Okay, let's dive in.